Welcome to Pro Thinking. I'm glad you made it. I'm your host, Gizela Kwihangana. We invite you to sit with us on the deeper side of life and encourage you to think about it. I am so happy that you're here. Today, I want to share a moment in my life that forced me to start asking deeper questions. There was a period in my life when I started noticing something strange. From the outside, everything looked normal. I was working, studying, planning for the future, doing everything people usually say you're supposed to do. But internally, something felt off. It felt like I was moving through life without actually being fully present in it. Almost like I was watching myself live instead of actually living. Part of that feeling started very early in my life. Growing up with an immigrant mother who came from a country shaped by war, you grow up seeing sacrifice in a very real way. And when you see that kind of sacrifice as a child, something forms inside of you. You want to make it worth it. You want to do something big with your life. You want to prove that her suffering, her struggle, wasn't in vain. You want to become a blessing. Or maybe, if I'm being honest, part of me also wanted to earn love. And that way of thinking followed me for a long time. Whenever someone believed in me, affirmed me, supported me, I felt like I had to prove them right. Like my life had to justify their faith in me. But eventually, something began to change. As I got older, I started trying to create a path that was my own. A path not shaped by everyone's expectations or voices. And for the first time in my life, I started asking myself questions. What do I actually want out of life? Who am I really? What is my purpose? At first, those questions were hard to answer. In fact, they were so uncomfortable that it felt easier to just check out, to move through life passively. I figured maybe I would just follow the same path everyone else walks and somehow give it meaning later. But every direction I tried to go, I kept hitting a wall. And eventually, I realized something. I was trying to walk through life without meaning. But meaning doesn't come after the journey. Meaning is what creates the journey. Without meaning, there is no real drive, no real passion, no real direction. So I had to stop, completely stop. In that stillness, I started forcing myself to come back into my own life, to become present again, to get back into my own body. And that's when I noticed something that was hard to admit. I wasn't just living passively. I had allowed other people to borrow my life. Their expectations were shaping my decisions. Their voices were influencing how I thought, how I felt, and what I believed I was supposed to become. It was like they were pulling the strings and I was just moving along with it. But something changed when I slowed down. I started treating myself with patience and kindness. The kind of patience you will give someone who's recovering. And little by little, I started to see something clearly. I was not who I thought I was. And that version of myself I had been presenting to the world wasn't fully true to who I felt I was inside. So, slowly, layer by layer, I began breaking the facade. And what I discovered in that process was something powerful. We actually have more control over our lives than we think. Not control over everything that happens to us, but control over how we live. Control over what we believe. Control over the courage to choose our own path. Life can be scary to live. There's no guarantees, no perfect map. But one thing I've started to realize is this. Joy isn't found in avoiding life. Joy is found in living it. Fully, honestly, and consciously. I remember thinking about how different my life had felt before that moment. For so long, I had been moving forward, doing things that made sense on the outside, but inside, something always felt unsettled. And when I finally slowed down long enough to sit with that feeling, I started asking myself questions I had never really asked before. I started wondering what it actually means to live a life that feels like my own, not a life that proves something, a life that satisfies expectations, just a life that feels honest. And the more I sat with that, the more I began to see something. Maybe the way isn't really about arriving somewhere at all. Maybe it's about paying attention, about becoming more aware of the choices I'm making and the person I'm slowly becoming along the way. I don't have all the answers yet, but I do know that when I started living with a little more awareness, life stopped feeling like something I was trying to keep up with and started feeling more like something I was actually living. That concludes this episode. Thank you for listening. And if today's reflection resonated with you, I invite you to tune in next time for more thoughtful conversations about life, identity, and what it means to think for yourself. Until next time, keep thinking. That was Pro Thinking. Thanks for thinking with me.